Hello everyone, this is Zibo and welcome to today's video. So in today's video, we're going to run through Vishuvac's second exclusive weapon and see her performance within the Colosseum runs itself. So first of all, this Colosseum weapon is known as the Volcanic Core, and this weapon offers a little bit of attack, a little bit of crit hit chance, some defense, HP, percentage, defense, percentage, weapon skill regen speed, and it changes Vishuvac's ability similar to Future's Knight Atomic Destroyer. So this exclusive weapon has a pretty powerful weapon skill, 240% DPS, but it's really hard to land. So technically you won't run Vishuvac as a leader unit, or you won't really try her out in arena because the weapon skill is very big AoE, but it's very slow. If you are playing against somebody who knows how to play, the person will be able to dodge it really easily. So that's the problem with this weapon skill. So it's more like a support type of unit, and it's already mentioned in the developer's note that this exclusive hero or this exclusive weapon is supposed to make fire range teams a lot more viable. So in a sense, you can say that this is very similar to Eleanor. And the kit itself is very similar to Eleanor. It doesn't really offer like a stats change for Vishuvac. As you guys can see, the stats numbers are the same, but it changes her party buff from HP plus 40% to skill damage plus 45%, as well as fire attack plus 25%. So it's the same party buff as Eleanor, but fire. And it also increases her skill damage by 5% and increases her attack by 5% on enemy kills for 10 seconds. So this normal attack, right, of Vishuvac's second exclusive weapon allows her to recover all allies' HP by 1% for 1 second. So this heal is quite significant in Colosseum because your HP is boosted. So she's gonna be able to heal quite a bit if you're playing in a sustained battle. Although the heal value is much lesser than Kamel and Mia, but generally very good to have if you're running a fire team and you're using Vishuvac, right? So it is always a good to have in a team setting. And other than that, right, her secondary ability, Dragon Shout, increases her defense by 25% and nearby allies crit hit chance multiplier or crit hit multiplier by 50% for 4 seconds. So this skill is very similar to Veronica, and other than making Vishuvac a lot tankier, like 25% more defense, it also increases your team's damage output. And yeah, it's a good buff to have in raid. Definitely in terms of Colosseum, I think you have to put Vishuvac somewhere in the middle of the team so that the buff can benefit as many units as possible. So that's one thing. And next, chain skill, right? Chain skill is very straightforward, deals 450% DPS damage and increases defense by 20% for 5 seconds. So this skill, I haven't really seen it a lot. Like I think in the Colosseum runs itself, I usually either die before my chain skill comes up, or if like my opponent is really weak, right, so I kill them super fast. So I haven't really seen a lot, but the few times I've seen it, I think the damage output is pretty decent. The AoE is really big, but the casting animation is a little slow. So that's one problem I have with this chain skill. But overall, it's also very powerful. 455% is pretty big damage. And lastly, the special ability is pretty special, right? Because her special ability increases damage dealt to enemy by 50% of crit hit chance. So on a very optimal, like if you don't use Vishuvac with crit cuts, right, you get 4% from the base and you get 6% from the weapon, so you get 10% crit hit chance. So just off the base form, you're getting a 5% damage increase from the special ability. But I think in most cases, if you run her in a raid team, right, you'll use her with a crit hit buff. So that will give you a total of about 50%, and that is excluding the 2 crit hit cards that you can equip on her. So let's say if you put 2 crit hit cards and you put like a fire critical damage dealer, which is Lucy, and then you put her with Vishuvac, and you'll have a 58% crit hit chance Vishuvac, and this will increase her damage output by about 28%, right? So that's, I would say, quite big. 28% damage increase. It's an overall damage increase, by the way. So it affects the normal attack, it affects the weapon skill, it affects the chain skill. Really good. And lastly, it also increases fire type attack by 35% for 4 seconds. So this is on top of the Dragon Shout, right? So this Dragon Shout, other than increases allies crit hit multiplier by 50%, also increases fire type attack by 25% for 4 seconds. So from this kit itself, right, you can see that she's a very fire centric character. And she's definitely very strong for raid itself, because like the buffs that she offers is very valuable for the team, and the party buff of her is also really good for the range fire team, because if you equip Vishuvac with this weapon, right, she becomes a range attacker and she deals range damage. So you want to pair her with the likes of Lina, with the likes of Lucy, with the likes of Clara to see maximum effect. So yeah, without further ado, let us jump to the Colosseum end to let you guys see how she actually fares in the team itself. Okay, so first up we'll have a mono earth team, which is led by Camille with a future princess within the tank slot. And for my side, I'll be running Piltvice as the fire main leader, because I do not have Lina on this account. And I think other than Lina, Piltvice is probably the second best fire unit with the weapon skill in the Colosseum, because the weapon skill has a really big AoE and has a massive amount of heal when Piltvice stands in the middle of it. And at the same time, Piltvice also have a bit of negation, which allows her to actually take some hits from future princess and maybe not get chained if you're lucky. So that's one thing why I'm running Piltvice as the leader. Then obviously we have Vishuvac, which is the support of the team. We have Noxia for the HP buff, as well as a little bit of distraction from the spirit itself, and also because she's the only good Colosseum tank unit I have. And lastly, we have Lucy in the last slot. So Lucy is there to get the additional buff from Vishuvac, and also to give the critic chance buff to the whole party, as well as give the critic chance buff to Vishuvac itself. So you get like 3 fire units, which is able to benefit from Vishuvac's party buff, as well as her ability, which is Dragon Shout. So without further ado, let us look at the performance of the first match. Okay, so today's focus is not really on like the stats itself, it's just to see how Vishuvac performs. And from the first match itself, you can see that Lucy's AI is really stupid. She charges into like the whole bunch of enemy, and since Lucy is not really tanky, she dies really easily. But for Vishuvac, I think she's able to keep herself at a safe distance, and she's also able to attack through multiple targets from her normal attack, because she's able to throw the fireball, which will pass through the enemy in a straight line, and then she's able to smash the ground and cause AoE circular damage, which is really good if your enemy clumps up together. Okay, next up we pick a mono light team of some sort. So we have Camille, Future Princess, Mark 99 and Gabriel, which is another pretty solid comp, right? I think the most optimal setup for this will be changing out Camille for Eleanor to simply overcharge all your light unit. But I think this team comp is strong enough, and the stat line of this opponent, I guess, is just right to match me. So let's look at the results. So I think we lost this because Piltvice takes 2 chain to chain, but the Morolite team hits so hard on their normal attack that they're able to kill off Piltvice before she actually lands her chain. Like you guys can see, she died before my team actually used any chain, so that's kind of unfortunate. But I believe if my Piltvice was a little bit more tanky, I think I should be able to survive and land a chain and probably turn the tides of the battle. Next up, we have the Lina, Camille, Future Princess and Ogma, very standard meta team on the Colosseum rankings, and you guys will see how my team will perform against this team itself. Yep, so this one was really close as well. I think I was fortunate that Vishuvac's chain skill actually managed to hit multiple targets, and my Piltvice actually placed her weapon skill in a really good location where it was able to hit multiple enemies and then chain them all at the same time. So this kind of rendered my opponent's units a bit useless for a few seconds, and overall all the effects actually add up, and eventually I managed to win this match against one of the most meta team in the meta right now. So in terms of maximizing Vishuvac's potential, you probably want to pair up with like at least 3 fire units. So Vishuvac plus Lucy Clara, or Vishuvac plus Lucy Lina plus another tank, or like what I'm using right now, right? Piltvice, Lucy plus Vishuvac plus another tank. So there's a few combinations going for you. So the key is to try to run her with fire units so that they can benefit from her fire damage party buff, as well as her fire attack buff from the Dragon Shout ability. So yeah, I think Vishuvac is going to be a pretty decent Colosseum unit if you do dictate some investment in fire teams, and eventually once the fire element gets a proper fire tank I think Vishuvac's gonna shoot up in terms of usage because the fire unit is probably gonna make the whole fire element a lot stronger in Colosseum, and we will see more fire teams, which is definitely a good thing because Garum can then come back and we will see way less Earth teams in Colosseum as well. So yep, that's my opinion for this video. Do let me know down in the comment section below if you would like to see more of such commentary Colosseum gameplay type of video. And thank you very much for watching. Do remember to like and subscribe in order to see more videos from the channel. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.